Dr. Jia Kim rushed through the empty halls of the New Mexico SETI facility. It was nearly midnight, and she was alone again. She liked it that way. The quiet let her think. And tonight she needed to finish testing the new deep space transmitter before tomorrow's team meeting. Coffee first, she mumbled, setting her bag down at her workstation. The ancient coffee machine in the break room gurgled and sputtered. While waiting, she glanced at the TV in the corner. Someone had left it playing an old sitcom, one of those ninety shows with loud laughing after every joke. Back at her desk, coffee in hand, Jia began the equipment check. The new transmitter was powerful, designed to send clear signals farther than ever before. Her job was simple: run the diagnostics, record the results, power down. System initializing, she said, typing commands. A series of green lights flashed across her screen. Everything looked normal. Jia took a sip of coffee and frowned at the error message that suddenly appeared. Signal source required for calibration test. That's not in the protocol, she muttered, checking her notes. The system needed something to transmit for the diagnostic to complete. It was a simple test. The signal wouldn't actually go anywhere. She just needed any input source. Jia glanced around the room, then remembered the TV. Perfect. She quickly connected a cable from the TV output to the transmitter input. On screen, the sitcom showed a man hiding behind a couch while his girlfriend's parents searched for him. The studio audience roared with laughter. This should work, Jia said, returning to her computer. She pressed enter to continue the test. What Jia didn't know was that she had missed a critical checkbox in the setup menu. The system wasn't in diagnostic mode. It was in full broadcast mode. The transmitter wasn't just testing. It was sending the sitcom directly into deep space at maximum power. The signal shot outward, traveling far beyond what any previous human transmission had achieved, strengthened by the new technology Jia was supposed to be testing. 3 light weeks away, a small scout vessel drifted silently through space. It belonged to the Galactic Hegemony, an ancient alliance of thousands of species that had ruled most of the galaxy for millions of years. Inside the ship, Officer Lox monitored communication systems. Lox was not human. With 6 eyes and a body like a tall, thin octopus, the hegemony had known about Earth for centuries but kept their distance. Humans were classified as unpredictably creative, too dangerous to contact, until they matured further. Suddenly, Lox's console lit up. "Captain, I'm receiving a direct transmission from the quarantine zone. From Earth." Captain Mev moved quickly to the console. This was unprecedented. Earth wasn't supposed to have technology capable of reaching this far. "Play it," ordered Mev. The ship's screen showed the sitcom. A human male was now climbing out a window while balancing a cake. He fell into a pool. Recorded laughter followed. The aliens watched in confusion. "Is this some kind of military instruction?" asked Lox. "Perhaps it's coded diplomatic communication," suggested another crew member. "The sounds following the human actions, are they distress signals?" Mev wondered. None of the aliens understood humor as humans did. Their species had evolved past such emotional displays centuries ago. To them, the sitcom seemed like bizarre, possibly threatening behavior. "This changes everything," Captain Mev decided. "The humans have achieved long-range communication. They're broadcasting there, whatever this is, into hegemony space. We must report this immediately." The ship's communication officer sent an emergency message to Hegemony Central Command, attaching the human transmission as evidence. Back on Earth, Jia finally noticed the error. "Transmitting. No. She quickly shut down the system, her heart racing. It was just a test. Nothing serious. She checked the logs. The signal had been broadcasting at full power for nearly 7 minutes. Jia deleted the logs, hoping nobody would notice. After all, it was just a silly sitcom. What harm could it do? She had no way of knowing that in a distant part of space, the Galactic Hegemony's High Council was being awakened to view the transmission. They watched in alarm as humans exhibited what they considered irrational, possibly dangerous behavior. "We've avoided contact with Earth for good reason," said the head counselor. "But now they've reached out to us. We must respond before they stumble unprepared into the wider galaxy." The decision was made. A first contact mission would be dispatched to Earth immediately. All because Dr. Ja Kim needed something to test her equipment and chose a sitcom. Dr. Ja Kim was eating breakfast when her phone rang. It was her boss at SETI. "Gia, turn on your TV now," he said, his voice shaking. She grabbed the remote and switched on the news. Every channel showed the same image. An enormous silver ship hanging in the sky above New York City. It was shaped like a perfect disk, smooth and reflecting sunlight like a mirror. It was at least 3 miles wide. "Is this real?" she whispered. "Very real. The military has confirmed it's not from Earth. Ja, they're asking for you by name." Her spoon dropped, clattering against the bowl. "What? Why me?" "They sent a message in perfect English. They want to meet the one called Dr. Ja Kim who sent the transmission." "What transmission, Ja?" Her stomach sank as she remembered that night 3 months ago. The sitcom. The equipment test. The error she had covered up. 6 hours later, Gia found herself in a hastily arranged meeting at the Pentagon. Military officers, scientists, and government officials filled the room. A thin, older man with silver hair approached her. "Dr. Kim, I'm Ta Park, former ambassador to the United Nations. I've been called out of retirement for this situation." He didn't smile. "Please explain why alien visitors are asking for you specifically." After Gia explained about the accidental broadcast, the room erupted in angry voices. Ambassador Park raised his hand for silence. "What's done is done. Now we must prepare for this meeting. The aliens have requested talks at the UN tomorrow." The next day, Gia sat beside Ambassador Park in the UN General Assembly. The room was packed with world leaders and military personnel. Everyone looked terrified. The main doors opened. 6 aliens entered, each different from the others. The first was tall and thin with 6 eyes. Another had 4 arms and blue skin. One floated above the ground. They walked with perfect coordination, like soldiers on parade. "The Galactic Hegemony welcomes Earth," announced the 6-eyed alien. Its voice sounded mechanical, translated through a device on its chest. "I am Captain Mev. We received your transmission and have come to formally integrate your world into our society." Ambassador Park stood up. "We thank you for coming. I am Ta Park, Earth's representative. This is Dr. Ja Kim, who sent the transmission you received." All 6 alien eyes turned to Ja. "Explain the purpose of your communication featuring humans performing illogical actions followed by collective vocal responses." Gia swallowed hard. It was a television show. Entertainment. It's called a sitcom, situation comedy. The sounds were recorded laughter. The aliens looked at each other. Laughter. "You broadcast this deliberately to amuse others." "Yes, though I didn't mean to broadcast it to space. That was an accident." The aliens conferred in whispers. Then Captain Mev spoke again. "This confirms our assessment. Humans are unpredictably emotional and potentially dangerous to galactic stability. The Council has decided Earth must be carefully integrated under supervision." Ambassador Park frowned. "What exactly does that mean?" "Earth will join the hegemony as a protected world. Your technology will be limited. Space travel beyond your moon will be prohibited. Cultural exchanges will be minimal until humans demonstrate rational control over their emotions." The room erupted in protests. World leaders shouted objections. Ambassador Park tried to calm everyone down. "Please understand," said another alien with blue skin. "This is not punishment. It is protection. For you and for us. Species that express emotions so freely often destroy themselves or cause galactic incidents." Gia stood up. "You're afraid of laughter. Of emotions." "Not afraid," said Captain Mev. "Concerned. The hegemony has maintained peace for 50,000 years by controlling emotional displays. Your species finds humor in failure, creates entertainment from discomfort, and deliberately seeks emotional responses. This is dangerous. One of the aliens presented a tablet with a formal document. This treaty outlines the terms of Earth's integration. All major nations must sign. Ambassador Park took the tablet, his face grim. "We'll need time to consider this." "You have 24 hours, said Captain Mev. "After that, integration begins with or without your cooperation." As the aliens left, Jia turned to Ambassador Park. "This is all my fault. What are we going to do?" Park looked at the treaty, then at Jia. "I don't know. But somehow we need to convince them that human emotions, even our strange sense of humor, aren't a threat to the galaxy." Jia nodded, watching the aliens' stiff, formal exit. They walked in perfect unison, without a single smile among them. The next morning, Earth's emergency diplomatic team gathered in the United Nations conference room. Ambassador Ta Park sat at the head of the table, reviewing his notes. Dr. Jia Kim sat beside him, nervously tapping her pen. World leaders and top scientists filled the remaining seats. "Remember," said Ambassador Park, "stay calm and formal. The hegemony values order and control. No emotional outbursts." The doors opened, and the alien delegation entered. Their leader, Captain Mev, was joined by 4 others, including an ancient-looking alien with pale green skin and 3 eyes. This elder moved slowly, supported by a floating chair. "This is Elder Knox," Captain Mev introduced. "He has traveled from the Hegemony Council to oversee these proceedings. His presence honors your world." Elder Knox looked at the humans with unblinking eyes. "Let us begin." For 2 hours, the aliens presented their demands. Earth would be quarantined. No space travel beyond the moon. All technology would be monitored. Human culture would be adjusted to reduce emotional expression. Nations would answer to hegemony officials. Ambassador Park listened patiently, though his face grew tighter with each new demand. When Elder Knox finally finished, the room fell silent. "Thank you for your thorough presentation," Park said. "Before we respond, might I ask a question?" Elder Knox nodded once. "Have you studied human history?" Park asked. "We have reviewed your basic development," replied Knox. "Then you know humans don't respond well to being controlled." Park smiled slightly. "The last person who tried to rule the whole world ended up hiding in a bunker while his enemies bombed his city. His name was Hitler. And now we only remember him as a failure with a funny mustache." Park hadn't meant it as a joke, but something about his wording or delivery triggered an unexpected reaction. Elder Knox's body suddenly shook. A strange whistling sound came from breathing holes along his neck. His 3 eyes bulged slightly. The other aliens looked alarmed. Captain Mev rushed to Elder Knox's side. "Are you unwell?" The elder composed himself with visible effort. "I am. Functional. Continue." Dr. Kim leaned forward. "Was that laughter?" Elder Knox's skin darkened to a deeper green, possibly their version of blushing. "I experienced an involuntary respiratory spasm. It was inappropriate and will not recur." "It's not inappropriate among humans," Jia said. "We value laughter." "A developmental weakness," said Captain Mev dismissively. "Advanced species outgrow such reactions." Jia stood up. "Maybe I can explain better with examples. Could we show them?" Ambassador Park nodded, and Jia connected her tablet to the room's display screen. "This is the sitcom that I accidentally broadcast. The one that brought you here." The screen showed a scene from the old show. A man was trying to cook dinner to impress his date's parents, but he kept making ridiculous mistakes. When he accidentally set his sleeve on fire and dunked his arm in a fish tank, the recorded studio audience roared with laughter. The aliens watched with mixed reactions. Captain Mev seemed disgusted. 2 younger aliens looked confused but interested, and Elder Knox was visibly struggling to maintain composure, his breathing holes fluttering. "You create these situations deliberately?" asked one alien. Yes, Gia explained. Comedy is an art form for us. We create funny situations on purpose to make people laugh. But why? Captain Mev asked. What purpose does this serve? It makes us happy, Gia said simply. It relieves stress. It helps us cope with life's difficulties. Elder Knox spoke, his voice slightly unsteady. In the hegemony, such displays are considered primitive. Young children may laugh, but adults learn control. When was the last time you laughed, Elder Knox? Gia asked gently. The elder seemed startled by the question. 416 years ago, when I was a juvenile. The human delegation exchanged shocked glances. 400 years without laughing. Ambassador Park said. That sounds like a terrible way to live. Another scene played on the screen, this time showing physical comedy as someone slipped on a banana peel. Elder Knox suddenly made the whistling sound again, stronger this time. The other aliens looked horrified. Elder, please compose yourself, Captain Mev pleaded. But Elder Knox was now making the whistling sound continuously. One of the younger aliens began making a similar noise, as if infected by the elder's reaction. I think, said Ambassador Park with a growing smile, that our negotiations just took an interesting turn. Dr. Kim nodded, watching as the aliens struggled between their cultural programming and what appeared to be a natural biological response to humor that had been suppressed for centuries. Maybe, she whispered to Park, laughter is the universal language after all. The meeting was called to order after a 2-hour break. Elder Knox had regained his composure, but looked different somehow. His 3 eyes seemed brighter, more alert. The younger alien diplomats kept sneaking glances at him. Captain Mev stood stiffly. We must address what happened earlier. Elder Knox, episode, was unfortunate. We apologize for the disruption. Ambassador Park raised an eyebrow. Why apologize for laughing? It seemed natural. Natural does not mean proper, Captain Mev said. Perhaps we should explain. Long ago, the founders of the hegemony discovered that emotional reactions like laughter created unpredictability in diplomatic relations. They decided such responses must be controlled. Are you saying all aliens can laugh? Dr. Ja Kim asked. Elder Knox spoke, his voice steadier than before. Nearly all sentient species develop some form of respiratory or vocal response to unexpected cognitive shifts, what you call humor. We all have it. We all suppress it. But why? Ja pressed. Order, predictability, advancement. Elder Knox listed each word carefully. When I was young, before my training was complete, I still experienced these responses. After, I became rational, logical, worthy of leadership. One of the younger aliens, who had a blue tint to their skin, stepped forward. I am Taz, junior diplomat. May I speak freely, Elder? Elder Knox hesitated, then nodded. What I felt today when I made those sounds, it was not unpleasant, Taz said quietly. It felt releasing. The human delegation exchanged glances. Ambassador Park leaned forward. In human culture, we don't see emotional expression as a weakness. We see it as a strength, he explained. Laughter helps us connect. It breaks tension. It builds relationships. Captain Mev shook his head. Primitive. All young species say this. Then they learn better. Do they? Ja asked. Or are they forced to conform? This question created visible discomfort among the aliens. Elder Knox's floating chair moved slightly forward. Dr. Kim raises an interesting point. Our records show that 17 major species have abandoned the hegemony over the millennia. We classify them as failed civilizations because they rejected our ways. Elder Knox said thoughtfully. Perhaps we were incomplete in our assessment. Captain Mev looked alarmed. Elder, this human is challenging foundational hegemony principles. I am aware, Captain. Elder Knox turned his 3 eyes to Ja. Tell me, Doctor, does humor serve functions beyond simple pleasure? Gia nodded eagerly. Absolutely. It reduces stress hormones. It helps process difficult information. It creates social bonds. Some studies suggest people with strong senses of humor live longer and solve problems more creatively. "Show us more," requested Taz, the young diplomat. Several other junior aliens nodded in agreement. Ambassador Park signaled, and a series of comedy clips began playing. Classic physical comedy, clever wordplay, absurdist humor. With each clip, more of the younger aliens began making their species-specific sounds of amusement: whistles, clicks, humming vibrations. Elder Nox watched them carefully, then turned to the humans. "You have weaponized a natural response." "Not a weapon," Gia corrected. "A tool, a gift." A heated discussion broke out among the aliens in their own languages. Captain Mev seemed to be arguing with several others. Elder Nox watched silently. Finally, the elder raised a long, thin hand for silence. "In my 400 years, I have never seen a cultural challenge to hegemony principles this fundamental." He turned to the humans. "Your species is unusual. You've embraced what we spent millennia trying to eliminate. For better or worse, that's humanity," Ambassador Park said with a smile. Elder Nox made a surprising announcement. "I am contacting the High Council. We must reassess our approach to Earth. Captain Mev will continue formal negotiations, but I believe—" He paused, seeming to search for words. "I believe humans may have preserved something the rest of us have lost." As Elder Nox glided from the room, Taz approached Jia. "Would it be possible to experience more of this comedy? For research purposes, of course." Jia smiled. "Of course. Just research." From across the room, Ambassador Park watched as human delegates began sharing jokes and funny videos with increasingly receptive alien diplomats. For the first time since the massive ship appeared above Earth, he felt hopeful. Perhaps humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or military power, but simply remembering how to laugh. 3 days passed with no word from Elder Nox. The negotiations continued, but everyone could sense something had changed. The younger alien diplomats spent more time with the humans, watching comedy shows and learning jokes. Captain Mev watched with growing concern. On the 4th day, a new ship arrived, larger and more impressive than the first. The Great Council of the Hegemony had sent representatives to see the situation for themselves. Ambassador Topark and Dr. Jia Kim waited nervously as 12 alien elders entered the UN chamber. Each looked ancient and serious. Elder Nox floated beside them. "We have reviewed the reports," announced the lead council member, a tall being with skin like polished metal. "We have watched the human entertainment. We have studied your history. The council is divided on how to proceed." The chamber fell silent. "Half of our members believe humans must be contained, as your emotional nature threatens the order we have maintained for 50,000 years. The metallic elder continued. "The other half, led by Elder Nox, argues that perhaps our order has calcified, become too rigid." Jia watched Elder Nox. Was that a hint of a smile around his breathing holes? "We have reached a compromise," the council leader announced. "Earth will not be integrated into the hegemony as planned. Instead, your solar system will become a special cultural embassy zone." Ambassador Park leaned forward. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means," Elder Nox explained, "that Earth remains independent. The zone around your system will allow controlled cultural exchange between humans and hegemony citizens who wish to experience alternative perspectives." "You're turning Earth into a tourist destination?" Jia asked. "More of a cultural learning center," corrected one of the council members. "Many younger hegemony citizens have expressed interest in experiencing human emotions, particularly this humor concept." Captain Mev stepped forward, clearly unhappy. "Council members, I must protest. This decision undermines our foundational principles." "Perhaps our principles need examination after 50 millennia," replied Elder Nox. "Evolution requires adaptation." 6 months later, Dr. Jia Kim stood on the observation deck of the newly built Galactic Embassy in orbit above Earth. Below her, the blue planet spun peacefully. Around her, aliens from a dozen worlds mingled with human diplomats and entertainers. "Still hard to believe, isn't it?" Ambassador Park said, joining her at the window. Jia nodded. "All because I accidentally broadcast a sitcom." "Sometimes the smallest accidents have the biggest impacts," Park replied. A young alien approached them shyly. It was Taz, now serving as cultural liaison officer. "Dr. Kim, the new comedy class is starting. Many visitors are waiting." Jia smiled. "I'll be right there." She had become Earth's unofficial humor ambassador, teaching aliens from across the galaxy about jokes, comedy, and laughter. Some species caught on quickly. Others struggled but kept trying. All seemed fascinated by this emotional experience they had been denied for generations. The latest reports show entertainment requests up 300% across the hegemony, Taz told them excitedly. Young citizens are questioning the emotional suppression protocols. Some older worlds are even establishing their own humor academies. "Is the council concerned?" Park asked. "Divided," Taz replied. "Some fear change. Others embrace it. But none can deny that something remarkable is happening." A year after first contact, Earth had become the most famous planet in the galaxy. Alien visitors filled special theaters where human comedians performed. They watched Earth movies and television shows with fascination. They studied human facial expressions and body language. And they laughed, each in their own way. In a private council chamber on the hegemony capital world, Elder Knox met with the most progressive council members. "The human influence spreads," one elder worried. "Is this wise?" Elder Knox's three eyes crinkled slightly, a gesture he had learned from humans. "For 50,000 years, we believed advancement meant control, suppression, logic above all. What if we were wrong? What if the humans preserved something essential that we sacrificed?" "A dangerous experiment," another elder cautioned. "Perhaps," Knox agreed, "but I have not felt so alive in 4 centuries." Back on Earth, Jia sat in her old office at the SETI facility. On her desk sat a small award, the Galactic Cultural Exchange Medal. She smiled at the irony. Her greatest discovery hadn't come from careful research or brilliant science, but from a simple mistake with an old sitcom. A notification popped up on her screen. Tonight's comedy broadcast to the galaxy was about to begin. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds would be watching, experiencing emotions long forbidden. All because humanity never forgot how to laugh. Jia pressed the broadcast button and smiled. "Transmission beginning," said the computer. This time, it was no accident. The end